Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who recently feels as though he's been podcasting too robotic. He's going to try to think less to fix that issue. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Am I podcasting too robotic? Is there a joke I missed? Justin Fields, that's right. Yes. I blew it. My bad.
No worries. See, you got to think less, Kyle. You're thinking too much.
I know, right? Too robotic for performance already.
Yes, very excited. I have my Bud Light ready to go. The official drink of the On the Sideline podcast. Bud Light and Miller Lite. We have competing sponsors. Yeah, it's great stuff.
Yeah, if you like Miller Lite, if you like Team Kyle, drink Miller Lite. If you're on Team Jackson, it's Bud Light. So
I think there's gonna be more Miller Lights. I think that's typically how it goes.
I would imagine that's the case too.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you have the sweet spot where you're sort of the I'm sort of the showrunner here. I'm the one who's posting 1,000 videos a week, so I'm bound to say something negative about everyone's favorite player. Like you just gotta sit back twice a week and just hang out.
Yeah, for the small percentage of your audience that tunes into this that actually hears my takes, they don't like me, but everybody else likes me because I'm only here twice a week.
Yeah, exactly. This is a Zachary Stewart in the chat saying this show better be good. I could have gone to Universal's Halloween Horror Nights, but I am here instead. Yes, thank you for the sacrifice. Kyle, I can't.
Horror Nights.
I don't know. I can't do haunted houses. They freak me out.
Really?
Yeah.
I
don't know what it is. Man. Horror movies don't bother me at all. Haunted houses, freak me out.
I guess that's fair. I don't know. I've always enjoyed them.
All right. Well, before everyone tunes out, let's we have an interesting show to talk about. But first, we have multiple Monday night games to bring up. I guess we can go chronologically here. I forgot to put the banners up, but let's talk. The Saints are 2-0. Their offense still isn't looking quite as maybe we had hoped. Chris Olave is, but we're still not seeing them necessarily. We're not seeing them score in the red zone the way we would like to see them. But their defense is as advertised so far.
Yeah, the defenses look great, and that starts with Marshawn Lattimore, who, has put together a really good start to the season. We'll see if he can do it for the entirety of the 17 games. This is something that he's kind of does. He shows up early, kind of goes in and out throughout the year. But he's currently PFF's number 1 ranked corner, so he's put together a good start to the season and been productive. This was a pretty ugly game, though. I'm not going to lie. I did not enjoy I had slow pitch softball Monday night, so I had to rewatch both games. Did not enjoy the rewatch for this one, although I got to skip all the State Farm commercials, thankfully. But the Saints, I'm not worried yet though, just because there are certain things like in the second quarter there was a throw like Tony Jones just didn't turn his head when he was running into the end zone, and Derek Carr threw it there, and it would have been a touchdown if Tony Jones just turned. And there were just certain, a couple plays here and there like that where it just seemed like the chemistry was a little off. I mean, overall, you'd still a little better than 341 yards on 74 plays. I think it is going to get better on offense. But eventually the big thing is just going to be, they got to start turning some of these drives into touchdowns, even when they are getting yards. 'Cause that's basically the one thing holding them back.
Yeah. And the yards thing is also a lot of Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill's, he's getting over 8 yards per touch. Whereas, Derek Carr is, he's not. I mean, it hasn't been as effective. But again, he's made the big throws when they've had to make. And that's always kind of the Carr thing, right? He might not be the perfect quarterback, but when you need him to make a play, he can make a play.
He can make a play. He also I didn't see the zoomed out the all 22 footage of his interception, but he threw it straight into 3 guys. I didn't know if someone was disguising themselves there or something. It looked like just an inexplicably bad throw. But yeah, I mean, Taysom Hill still doing this thing, man. Like it's never going to be stopped at this point.
Yeah, we kept saying like, who's going to be the next Taysom Hill? Turns out he's the only guy who does that.
Yeah, he's the only one who could do this. He's just good at it. And we just have to accept he's not a starting quarterback. He's not a backup quarterback. But whatever freaky role that they end up that they call it, he's good at it. He is good at it. I mean, he's in punt coverage. He's in punt return. He does all this stuff, and he does it all pretty well. So good job by Hill. Like I said, I guess the one thing with the Saints offense is like if you're mediocre on offense, I just want you to be awesome at one thing. And I really think they're awesome at receiver. I said this last week, and I still feel that way, even though they're not getting these touchdowns yet. Like this Olave, Shaheed, Thomas trio is just freaking awesome. Every time it seems like these guys come up with a big play. That catch by Olave was awesome. Michael Thomas just kind of, he's not, peak Michael Thomas, but he's still a really good football player. And the Shaheed just seems like he's a big play waiting to happen all the time. So I just really like that trio, and I think that's something that that raises the ceiling of this offense, even if it hasn't performed the first 2 weeks.
It's been really good so far. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm willing to go with the awesome word just quite yet, but it's been really good so far. And we'll see. Maybe it will be. Because so far it has been awesome. I'll say that. Bryce Young, not the best performance. I actually didn't think it was terrible. I don't think he's been terrible through 2 weeks. To me, I just feel like I'm almost wondering if we're just not going to be able to evaluate Bryce Young this year, because I really just don't think they don't have a lot going on around him. He's making some mistakes, which you expect from a rookie. Also made some good plays as well, like that scramble to nearly help them get right back in. I mean, this was a close game throughout until the Saints scored that kind of touchdown at the end of the fourth quarter to put it away.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely making some mistakes. The first 2 games, there's been 1 or 2 scary throws. I think you see the poise there that everybody talked about with him in college, just his composure in the backfield. But at the same time, I also think he's like taking bad sacks and bad hits because of his composure in the backfield. And I think that's something he has to fix. But I mean, I don't know, because this is everything that we feared when we looked at this Panthers roster preseason, or at least I looked at this Panthers roster preseason. I mean, that Adam Thielen 7 for 54, it feels about as fake as it can get. I just don't see these guys getting open enough. There's not enough separation in this offense. I mean, he either has to throw a dot every time, or he's taking the check down because nobody's open downfield. So I just, 22 completions for 153 yards kind of checks out based on what this roster is, because just there is no downfield separation from this group. And I don't think there's going to be all year unless they make a move, and they're not going to.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's why you got to get receivers to help out your young players. I mean, and I get it. They traded DJ Moore. It's the right move to get the quarterback, and but yeah, it's been a slow start for Bryce Young. We'll talk more about these two teams when we get into the preview. Another very fascinating game, Browns Steelers. As somehow, some way, Steelers find a way to win this. You had multiple defensive touchdowns, mostly set up by Alexander Highsmith, who doesn't get the credit. TJ Watt got all the credit, which was unfortunate because Alex Highsmith was the one making all the plays. Although, Watt made an incredible play as well to pick up that fumble. Only TJ Watt does that, right? Where he runs forward, grabs the football without even thinking about going down, and then sprints right into the end zone for a touchdown. Your classic TJ Watt play. Steelers defense looked awesome in this one. Browns offense did not. And I think we could probably start there. Nick Chubb gets injured, which, we can do the how much do running backs matter conversation. Nick Chubb matters. He's someone who matters. And Jerome Ford had a great, really one key run that kind of really helped him out. But as a whole, you have to think that if you're a Browns fan, you need Deshaun Watson to play better. He still just hasn't. Everyone kind of was willing to write off last year. Well, what's the excuse this year? He still isn't looking. I wouldn't say he's not looking any better, but he's not looking that much better.
I mean, I don't go all on QBR or anything like that, but his QBR was 16.5, which was the best QBR of the night.
Wait, let me ask a question. Is that out of 17?
No, that's out of 100.
Okay, well then that's not good.
Yeah, that's not great. Yeah, I mean, he's just straight up not good enough. Now, granted, that interception was wacky and kind of dumb.
Mm-hmm.
But there were still 39 other passes, and at least half of them weren't really even that good. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I mean, he's just straight up not good enough. I mean, this is, I was very peeved about this game the entire Tuesday when I was watching this because I was 6-1 heading into the end of this game, looking at a 7-1 week in my picks. I just needed the Browns to lock, and this game went exactly how. I mean, outside of Nick Chubb getting hurt, which sucks. It really does stink because Nick Chubb
Mhm.
is awesome. Nick Chubb has one of the highest approval ratings in football. It feels like. Um,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, and it's just like he is awesome. It stinks that happened, but this game almost went still about as much as you wanted this to go for the Browns. They had 408 yards, 255 yards, 81 plays to 53 plays, nearly double the first downs. 11 more minutes in time of possession, 5.7 yards per carry to 2.6 yards per carry for the Steelers. And yet your quarterback is turning the ball over 3 of the 4 times and you're losing the game. You have 4 turnovers, 3 of them are the quarterback. And that's how you lose this game. Number 4 has to play better. That's what it comes down to because this team is good enough to win a lot of football games. And even without Nick Chubb, I still think this team's good enough to win a lot of football games because Jerome Ford can bust a big play. We saw that in this game. They bring back Kareem Hunt, which I don't think is as good as Nick Chubb, but I still think he's a pretty darn good running back too. So you have those 2 options now. This team is good enough to win a Super Bowl. And I'm not even saying that ridiculously. I think this team is talented enough to win a Super Bowl, but it comes down to the quarterback has to be better. Your $250 million quarterback should not be your weak link. And it is. That's the problem.
They're good enough to win a Super Bowl with top 5 quarterback play. They're not good enough to win a Super Bowl with how Watson is playing right now. And I don't think they're I'm not even sure if they're a playoff team with how Watson is playing right now.
I mean, are they a Super Bowl contender if he's a top 12 quarterback?
I feel like I don't know. I feel like there's other issues here. Again, no Nick Chubb at this point. Offensive line's now banged up without Jack Conklin. I like DeJuan Jones, but I mean, he's not Jack Conklin. And I think the receiving core, like outside of Amari Cooper, I guess I like David Njoku as a tight end, all right. But like, I don't know. I haven't seen enough from Elijah Moore. David Bell's looked solid in a very small sample size. Like, is Donovan Peoples-Jones going to finally step up and be? I don't think he's number 2. I still think there's Amari Cooper's great, but I still think there's a lack of. I just think the passing game in general. This is the team built on the running game, and maybe it'll be fine. Maybe the Jerome Ford era, like, again, he looked good out there. Maybe it'll be fine, but I think we're going to get a real test in how much do running backs matter here.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting case study. I don't know. I think they're still going to be able to run the ball pretty well, even if it's not the best rushing attack in football or whatever. If they get 80% of Nick Chubb, I still think they're going to be pretty good.
Yeah, but don't we do this? We do this every year, right? Oh, here's this team that plays good defense and runs the ball well. What's their ceiling? And then week 1 of the playoffs, they're out.
Yeah, potentially, but this is all predicated on having all of that and also a $250 million quarterback playing like one.
Exactly.
And that's the problem with this team. Yeah, I mean, it's 1,000% the problem, but I don't even think he needs to play at a top 5 level. Like, if he's just, if he's pretty good, I think this team wins a lot of games and can compete with anybody. He's not playing pretty good, though. He's playing straight up awful. He's been dog shit for the last 7 months of his career, just straight up.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. You know who is better than pretty good on Monday Night Football? George Pickens. How about this guy coming alive?
Yeah. He was one of those guys that really needed to break out for this Steelers team to kind of see its full ceiling, and he has more than done that. He did that in week 2 at least. Comes up with a couple big plays in this one. All the talent is there. The ceiling is still there, and it looks like he's starting to realize that. Similarly, this team needs, I don't know, does this team there's been a lot of, you had this in week 1 and it seems like everyone's caught up to you now. The Matt Canada hate is at an all-time high.
In fairness, I'm not exactly the first person to criticize Matt Canada. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing there. They like him.
It's certainly not good.
Yeah.
But Pickett hasn't played well. I mean, this offense has looked putrid, and that's going to be a big problem for this team. Even if Pickens is amazing, even if Pickens has 2 or 3 awesome plays, is this a better team than the Jets the way they're playing right now? I mean, Is that any different than Garrett Wilson coming up with a couple big plays, but this team not being able to do anything else? That's kind of what this looks like.
I think Kenny Pickett is better than Zach Wilson. I think that he's. I know that he's not had a great start to the year, but I have more faith in him than having a good season in 2023 than Zach Wilson.
At the very least, he's not going to make a billion mistakes,
Yeah.
like backbreaking mistakes.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, I don't think the ceiling's that much higher.
You don't think this? Yeah. I don't know. They still feel like a team that their best case scenario is, what I talked about the Browns of like, well, what good does it matter if their running game works if they're only going to be a one and done playoff team? One and done playoff team kind of feels like the Steelers' best case scenario here.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Well, let's move on. Kyle, devastating Monday night loss as you had a great week. Only missed 2 games, but missed your lock. I made my lock. So despite the really well done picks, got to get those locks. That's what it all comes down to. I still have a 3-point lead here entering week 3.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson can go screw himself.
Yeah, for several reasons, but mostly the locks, the key one. Kyle, why don't you give me a game?
All right, starting this off, I need a big week again. This team has burned me the first 2 weeks, and I don't feel comfortable enough still to pick against them, and I don't feel comfortable anymore picking them until I see it look a lot better. So I'm going to give you this one off the bat. Taking on the surprise team of the first 2 weeks of the season. Let's go Rams at Bengals.
Rams, Bengals. Okay. Yeah. I'm locking up Cincinnati. Let's do it. Second week this season, locking up a team. They have to. The Rams are, Rams are good. I'm kind of buying into the Rams a little bit, but it's just like, I'm really buying into this receiving core, especially if Cooper Kupp comes back. I think this could be a really unique team. I just feel like these young secondary players for the Rams have played much better than we expected them to. This has to be the week that Cincinnati gets going, right?
If they lose this one, even if we think the Rams are actually pretty good, which I'm kind of with you, they've impressed me, and it doesn't look fluky. I think it's got to be a cause for concern, just because now you're 3 games down, basically. So there's only so much time to have to make up the ground at that point. I mean, they got a couple winnable games on their schedule after this, but as sooner or later, you got to get the wins on the schedule. And yeah, I mean, they definitely need it right now. So I'm with you. I think they need to have it happen, but it's looked so shaky, and I just don't know how much time we need to give them before we kind of say, okay, now they're back. Everyone's healthy. Everyone's playing. This should be okay now, because it's been a few weeks of this.
Yeah, I think the key question too, and the concern about locking up this team is the Joe Burrow. Is he going to play? Which, if he's not going to play, that's definitely I think I would feel a lot worse about this lock. I think he's going to find a way to get out there. I just think it's too important. This feels kind of like a wounded animal game a little bit, right? Like for the Bengals, like the Rams can afford to go down to 1-2. They don't want to, but they can afford to. Cincinnati in the AFC, you can't drop the 3-0. I think they're going to be, not that, and I do feel like that kind of does matter a little bit. I do feel like, in the importance, there is going to be just, that little extra hours. I think that I could see the Bengals taking into this game. I don't know. Again, it comes back to that. I do think that Cincinnati, one underrated thing, I think their defense has actually played pretty well this year so far through 2 games. Again, the first game was a weird one with the weather, but I thought that they looked all right versus Baltimore. I think there was better offense in that game by Baltimore. But so, it was a good matchup. But, I'm not overreacting to a 3-point loss to what I think is a really good team that I predicted to win the division anyways for Baltimore. As long as Burrow is healthy, I respect the Rams. I think the Rams are good. I think the Bengals should be able to win by a field goal. If it was a bigger spread, if this was 3.5, I probably don't lock this up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with you there. I think this secondary has looked better than I expected to start the year with a couple new faces. So I'm with you on that Bengals defense looking pretty good. And they already have the pieces on the line of scrimmage and the running linebacker. That hasn't really changed. So I do think this Bengals defense is pretty good. I do think they'll be able to slow down the Rams just enough. But I also don't think this Rams offense is fluky right now. I think, I think Sean McVay's kind of in his bag here with some of the scheming and some of the play calling to get these guys open. And then, I mean, you got to give credit to the players too. Nakua and Atwell I think have been terrific through the first 2 weeks of the season. They have done everything they could to help this offense be successful, and I think they've done a really good job, along with Stafford, who's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league through the first 2 weeks of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And if the Rams win this, I mean, we're talking about them as just a full-blown playoff team at this point, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They might still be it without this, but
Yeah.
I think it definitely helps the case.
A couple of interesting comments. DG in the chat, reminder that Joe Burrow was scared of Harry Potter growing up. Great point. Always worth remembering that. Also, Adam saying, I'll eat feces if Bengals win. It's not happening. So, some interesting thoughts here.
I'm going to hold that guy to it. Make
Yeah.
sure you get his name down.
Yeah. Right. Well, yes. You don't have to. I'll let you out of that bet. You don't need to do that.
Nope, you got to do it. Did you hear about that guy in Buffalo?
You might have to be more specific.
Oh, apparently there's a guy in Buffalo at the first game who got drunk and high off of multiple different types of drugs and like got naked and covered himself in poop from the porta potty and then jumped in the hole that is the future Bill Stadium or something like that. Crazy stuff. Yeah.
Huh. Well, all right. I'll give you a game.
I don't know what to do with that, but it was.
Yeah, I don't know what to do either. I don't know how to do a podcast bit about that.
Yeah. Anyway, everybody go on.
Okay. Well, you can look that up if that's what you're into. I'm giving you a game. We just talked about this team. Titans Browns. Titans finding a way to hang around and beat some teams, playing the Cleveland Browns, which I don't know exactly what we're going to get from the Chubb-less Browns. You seemingly are the biggest Browns fan in the world. Where do you think this game is going to end up?
This is going to be, there are grandparents, there are grandfathers in their 70s literally already thinking about this game with just overall excitement for 1965 football to be back. This is going to be slow. This is going to be smash mouth. Bill Parcells is going to be watching this game on his biggest TV. Everyone's going to be so excited to watch this game that is over 60. I'm taking the Browns. I think both teams are really physical. I think they're going to beat each other up. And I don't know. I just kind of feel in the vibes here. I think the Browns are able to galvanize and kind of get this one back. I really like this Browns secondary. I like that. I think they're going to be able to get after Tannehill too with this Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett combo. So I really like their ability to just get after Tannehill, make him uncomfortable, and also cover these Tennessee receivers enough to make this happen. So I got the Browns in a close game. I'm definitely not betting -3.5. This game's ending by 1 point. No matter who wins, it's ending by 1 point.
Yeah, I think betting on any team -3.5 against Tennessee is a disastrous idea.
Yeah.
It's the Tennessee lose by no more than 3 Titans. That's their name.
And it's probably because they miss a field goal at the end of the game. That's what they do.
Yeah, exactly. I don't trust either of these passing attacks in this game. I think this is going to be like I said, run the ball. I think both secondaries could do well. I think in some ways this could turn down to who makes the least amount of mistakes. And even though Tannehill had a disastrous week 1, I'd certainly trust him more right now than Watson to cut down on the mistakes and to not put the ball in harm's way. So I have Tennessee winning this game.
I'm with you on that. I think it's I definitely trust him more than Watson. I think he was really good in week 2. He made some really good throws, but I also think part of that is I think the Chargers secondary might stink. So I think that plays a huge part in it too. So I mean, I think that it could go. It is going to come down to which quarterback makes the least amount of mistakes, but I could also see neither of these quarterbacks throwing more than 25 times this next game. I think it could be one of those games. I think this game is going to be over in 2 hours. So if you want to watch this game and then go do something for a little bit, this is the game to watch because this is going to be over really fast.
Yeah, I might try to cover this game so that way I can take an hour off on Sunday at some point. I just feel like if it's a run heavy game, that favors Tennessee, right? Like that, I feel like I'm gonna bet on Tennessee if this is one of those games where each team's running the ball 40 times.
But wouldn't you also say that if it's Cleveland,
no, I don't know about Chubb, but without Chubb, what's happening here? You're
not feeling Kareem Hunt at all?
Not really. I mean, they just signed him off the street. What does he still have left in the tank?
Kareem Hunt? I don't know. I still think he's pretty productive. He hasn't had a lot of touches the last few years. As long as he kept himself in shape, I'm not worried.
I'm a little worried.
I don't know. I think I think he's
Last
going
we
to be
saw of
okay.
him in 2022, 123 attempts for 3.8 yards. Or 3.8 yards per carry, excuse me, not total.
Yeah. I mean,
It's.
um,
I'm not saying it won't happen or anything. I'm just saying I'm not like, oh, here we go.
I think it moves the needle a little bit. I think he's a pretty
I don't
good
even think
back.
he's going to get more than like 8 carries this game.
It could be he's limited this first game. I agree with you there, but I don't know. I think this team's going to run the ball just fine. They did after Chubb got hurt too. Like I know they're missing, Conklin, but they still got a lot of really good offensive linemen in that group.
I'm not saying that it won't be fine. I'm just saying it won't be Derrick Henry good.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I mean, that's fair. Yeah. I don't know. I'm still feeling the Browns. I think their defense is slightly better. I think both of these defenses are really good, though.
Yeah, no. It should be. I mean, they're the same team.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, they're very similar at the very least. Kyle, give me a game.
I'm not picking this game. Chargers at Vikings.
Chargers. Okay, give me the Chargers. I don't trust this Vikings team. I don't trust the Chargers that much, but I don't. It again, similar teams, right? Of both of these, not very good defenses, good offenses. I still think the Chargers are a fringe playoff team caliber team. I know they're 0-2. I don't know if they'll be able to bounce back from that, but like they lost to two, I think, good football teams barely in both cases. Like we're all going crazy about the Dolphins. If Mike McDaniel isn't a wild man going for it on these fourth downs in that game, the Chargers win that football game. And there's a very real chance that this team ends up being, could be 2-0. Minnesota, they showed fight against Philadelphia for sure. They couldn't beat Tampa Bay, which is fair because Tampa Bay is just a juggernaut. But this is just a team that's I just think that to me, I feel like the Chargers are the Vikings, but better.
In ways, I think they're better.
What way are the Vikings better than the Chargers?
I mean, they got a better passing game right now. They've shown it over the first 2 weeks of the year.
Do they have a better passing game, or do they have more yards?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, there's a real chance that Justin Jefferson ends up with the Chargers give up their second 200-yard receiver in 3 weeks here.
That's true. Justin Jefferson's very good. That maybe that's where they're better. Is they're the number one receiver. I'll give you that. But I would still take the Chargers receiving core over the Vikings receiving core.
Not buying Jordan Addison?
No, I like Jordan Addison. It's not bad. I'm not hating on it. It's more I think the Chargers are good. I don't know. You could argue the Vikings receiving core is better.
Yeah. This feels like the same exact game we just talked about, but opposite. These two teams,
yeah, it is.
They're the same exact thing, just like the Titans and Browns are the same exact thing. They're just complete opposite teams on the spectrum. Yeah, I mean, I think this should be high scoring. I don't envision any way either of these teams stop each other. I don't envision either of these pass defenses playing well. And yeah, I mean, I guess if it comes down to do I trust Justin Herbert more than Kirk Cousins without a doubt. But I also think the Chargers secondary might just be that bad. And like it could be worse than Minnesota's, which is saying a lot.
Yeah, it could be. It could be, for sure. Also, this is the classic scenario of Kirk Cousins. He actually had a good... I don't know what... Usually what happens is he stinks on primetime, and then the 1 o'clock Sunday game right after, he completely goes off for like 400 yards. This is the opposite, because he was good on primetime. I guess he fumbled a lot. But usually this is the slot where he really thrives, is the Sunday afternoon game coming off of primetime.
Yeah. While all the 60-year-olds are watching Browns-Titans, all the Gen Zers who grew up on the air raid and all that stuff and all that nonsense are going to be tuning into this game. That's what's going to happen.
Are they going to watch it or just going to watch like the TikTok highlights after?
Probably the TikTok highlights.
Yes. I think that's the most old man joke I've made in my entire life.
While checking their fantasy scores on their phone. Not actually watching the game.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, watch football however you want to watch football. I don't judge.
I judge a little. It's okay.
Okay, a little judgment. This should be this might be is this a loser leaves town game?
That would be insinuating these two teams haven't left town already, which could be a possibility too.
I'm surprised you're this low on the Chargers.
I mean,
they were a team we were both like, yeah, it's like a fringe playoff team heading into the year.
I'm kind of, but at the same time, I still feel that way, and I think it's because their offense is good. But They're in the AFC. They still have to play Patrick Mahomes twice. They have to play, they have to play Russell Wilson twice.
I like how you started to think about the other teams in the division. Like, wait, Denver and Las Vegas. Okay, maybe not so bad.
And they still have to play Mahomes twice. That's probably 2 losses, and there's going to be more difficult games on the schedule too. This isn't a surefire win. Like, I don't know. It's going to be hard for this team to get to 10 games, 10 wins.
I'm not saying that it's not going to be hard. I'm just saying I don't think, because again, I had them as the 8 seed in the AFC, largely due to I just think the AFC is loaded. But like, I don't think they've left town yet.
Yeah, that's fair. But I'm close to doing it, and even then, like, the Vikings in the NFC North, I feel a little bit worse about too, which is saying something because that doesn't look like the most competitive division so far. So I just don't know. I don't like watching either of these teams, and that's why I gave the game to you.
I like watching them. I don't think they're great, but I like watching them.
Well, I mean, I'm just disgusted when I watch them.
It's frustrating. It's like the Chargers are just infuriating because it's like you have so much. You're almost there. It's like I can see the potential here.
Yeah. Are these the 2 most frustrating teams in football?
They got to be up there. If not the most frustrating, they're probably like the Jets, just because like what could they do without Aaron? What could they do with Aaron Rodgers? They're probably number 1.
Yeah, I think my stupid team's on the list, but
they're on the list. Yeah, for sure. Kyle, who's winning? Steelers or Raiders? Raiders are actually favored to win this one by 2.5 points. Monday night game, one of the Monday night games, or isn't? No, it's not. I don't think it. I think it's Sunday night game. I want to say. I'll double check that. Kyle, who do you have winning?
I do have the Steelers. I think that defense is too good. And if there is a good time for a get right game for the Steelers offense, I think it's going to be this week. So I got the Steelers winning this one, kind of figuring some things out. I just don't think the Raiders are going to be able to move the ball enough.
I was a little surprised to see the Raiders. It's the Sunday night game. I was a little surprised to see Las Vegas favored to win this one. Not to say that I think that it's like it'd be crazy for the Raiders to win or anything like that. But I don't know. I feel like the Steelers' defense is coming off of a really good week. I know the offense hasn't looked great yet, but like you said, like I think the Raiders' defense could be a good get right situation. I don't know. This doesn't seem like a crazy scenario that the Steelers could win by a good margin.
I agree. We've talked about our concerns with this Raiders offensive line, and I'm still pretty concerned about it. And we're talking about a defensive line that just forced 4 turnovers and had 6 sacks. Like, I don't see the reasoning for the Raiders being favored here, unless you're just that low on the Steelers. Which, watching this offense, I get it. But at the same time, like I think that's a major mismatch that I don't know how they overcome it.
Yeah, if we want to talk about offensive lines too, I mean, this Steelers offensive line, like I don't know what's like. Isaac Seumalo sucks now. Like he had just like a complete like missed. I don't even understand what happened. Where there was a play where there was someone just lined up on him that he just like let go to try and block someone else, and like it wasn't like there was it wasn't like there was a scenario where like it made sense for him to go. Like it was clearly his fault. I don't know what he was thinking. He just like let someone go to block basically grass. I don't know what's going on with the Steelers offensive line. Max Crosby coming to town. That's a challenge.
That is a challenge. I agree. I mean, we all know Max Crosby is awesome. That's gonna be a definite problem. But at the very least, like they only have one Max Crosby. The Steelers have multiple guys, and one of those guys is TJ Watt. So
yeah,
there's just a lot of problems for both of these sides. And the Raiders also haven't really got their run game going. Like that hasn't looked good in the first 2 weeks. Jimmy Garoppolo has played, I would say, better than I anticipated for sure. And Devontae Adams is still awesome, but I just don't know if there's enough juice here from the rest of the guys to really feel confident.
Yeah. Dan Moore Jr., who, listen, I get it, had to go up against Myles Garrett. That's not easy to do. Dan Moore Jr. Currently threw 117 snaps, PFF grade of 23.
That's not bad.
Not great. We have a super chat. Thanks for the streams. Love your guys' takes and how you use logical thinking whenever it comes to football. Thank you, Joseph. We do our best here.
Yeah. No, not a lot of people have called me logical lately, but thank you.
Well, gotta take it when you can get it. Yeah, I don't know. Should be I guess the way the Raiders win this one is by, I think throwing the ball effectively, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got to be able to throw the ball downfield. Get
and
the ball
Kenny Pickett's still singing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Get the ball downfield, get the ball in Adams' hands, and let him get some work done. There's still pretty good receivers in this Raiders offense, even beyond Adams. So they do have the
Yeah.
ability to throw the ball. It's just there's not much else to really complement it.
Kyle, you said that you thought Juju Smith-Schuster would fit better. I forget exactly what the word was. I'm not sure if he said he would be better than Jacoby Myers or would fit better in the system than Jacoby Myers. Through 2 weeks, I don't know if that's been totally correct.
I said that his skill set was more needed for the Patriots offense,
Okay.
and they're not using it. So that's the first problem. He's just running a bunch of outbreaking routes for a
Well, that's
guy who's
unique.
known to get like yards after the catch. So that
Hmm.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I would. I think Jacoby Myers. Maybe I would have just paid Jacoby Myers. That's just me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that when we get to the Patriots. Kyle, give me a game.
Saints at Packers.
Yep. Next on my list as well. I have 3 upsets that I picked this week. The 2 games that I gave you, and also this one. Give me the Saints. Surprise Green Bay's favorite in this one as well. I don't know. The Packers are interesting. They're a complete wild card for me, but I feel like the Saints defense. This is the first like real test for Jordan Love. I think. Not to say Atlanta was like a slouch or anything like that, but this is a defense that's kind of become known for just making opposing quarterbacks look bad. What are we going to see from Jordan Love? I'm concerned they're not going to get like anyone open in this game. Green Bay isn't, and this could actually get ugly potentially. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I see a world where that happens.
Yeah, I mean, Christian Watson's still a limited participant in practice, so I don't know if he's going to be able to play in this one. It's tough. There is not a lot of optimism for that offense if he's not going to be able to play because there's, like you said, there's not a lot of separation, and this Saints secondary is very good. So I think that's a tough ask. I think overall. So we'll see if they're able to get it done. If he's able to go, I feel a little bit better about the Packers, but I do think the Saints are a better team right now.
A super chat. Kyle, this might be a question for you. Which college OC would be best to replace Matt Canada?
Oh gosh. College offensive coordinators. I guess you could probably throw what's his face? Is it the Washington offensive coordinator? I think his name Ryan Grubb. You could throw Garrett Riley in there from Clemson. You can also throw want to get our clicks up, Colorado. Get I think his name's Sean Kelly, who's the offensive coordinator, former head coach at Kent State. He has done some really good stuff with that Colorado offense first 3 weeks, even though he's got a terrible offensive line. So those are a couple names. There you go. Did the best I could.
Yeah.
On the spot.
Is Matt Patricia doing anything? I know he's not college, but
No, he's not available. Bill
okay.
Belichick won't let that happen. He's too valuable to the organization, obviously.
Yes, unfortunately. No one would have a promising young quarterback in their second year have Matt Patricia as a offensive play caller. Back to the Saints Packers. I do think I am fascinated in what's going to happen with the Saints offense against Packers defense. Like I said, this Packers team just feels like a complete wild card in all sense. I still don't really have a good firm grasp on them. And as we're trying to figure out the Saints as well, I can kind of see this going any direction.
I'm with you. This would be the best game for the Saints to have Alvin Kamara back, right? Because this Packers run defense still can't stop anything. They're still really bad. That being said, this Saints interior offensive line is not helping their running game be successful, but we could get a big Taysom Hill game out of this too. Another one. But yeah, I mean, they still can't stop the run. And it doesn't matter what they do; they can't stop it. So Saints control the clock with their run game. Hit a couple big pass plays to those receivers. I do think they can win it because I just don't trust this Packers defense right now, for sure.
Yeah, I want to hear my misleading stat line of the week. Green Bay Packers currently second best in drop pack EPA offensively. I think that's largely just from the Bears game.
The Packers are what? Sorry.
Second best in drop back EPA offensively.
Yeah, I think the playing Justin Fields is going to help a lot of teams skew those stats.
Yeah. We have a super chat. Back to the Matt Canada question. I don't know much about play calling. What is it that's so bad about Canada? I see people online saying, "Oh, he ran it on a 2nd and 8?" Question mark. Question mark. Question mark. Well, I mean, I think that as a whole, most people just feel like the offense has gotten very stale and lacks a lot of creativity in the play calling. It's a lot of more basic concepts and a more hey, just go down and win type of concepts by the receivers. I actually kind of agree. I think some of the criticism gets put too much on him. If they don't have a lot of great separation receivers, don't have a great running game, there's only so much he can do. But I think he's deserving of some criticism as well.
I agree. I think the tough thing with offensive play calling is you always have to adapt because the game's always changing. And I think what we're seeing now is more of these motion concepts, these play action concepts, these RPO concepts are getting installed in the game year in, year in and year out. Andy Reid throughout all of his career has been able to adapt his offense to the modern game year after year. There's a lot of offensive coordinators who can do that. And I think Matt Canada thrived in he thrived in a Ben Roethlisberger style offense, which doesn't work for a lot of modern quarterbacks. And when you have a guy with a unique skill set like Pickett, who can throw on the run, who can run and be mobile, and you're not utilizing that part of his game enough, it just kind of feels weird. It feels dumb.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say he thrived when he was with Roethlisberger either. But again, a conversation for another day. Any final thoughts on
Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger?
Well, he wasn't even there then.
Wasn't he there the last Brown season? The last big Brown season?
He might have been there, but I don't believe he was an offensive coordinator at the time.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
But yeah. Anyway, any final thoughts on Saints Packers? I know we kind of covered it in between Matt Patricia sessions. But hey, if you want to hear us talk more about a topic, give us a super chat.
Yeah. No, I think we I think we covered it all. I like the Saints secondary to be able to slow down Jordan Love. And I just don't know how the Packers get stops. So yeah.
All right, Kyle, let's stick with the NFC North. I'm going to give you Falcons Lions.
Yep, next on my list, I am going to take the Lions. This Falcons secondary has looked a heck of a lot better. I don't know if they're ready for this though. I think this is a whole different ball game. I think that that is still a mismatch in the Lions' favor. I think they're going to be able to exploit that, and not to mention, I think that the best part of the Lions' defense is the front seven, as that kind of new secondary kind of works itself together, and I think that they might be able to slow down the Falcons just enough as far as running the football. I don't trust Desmond Ridder to drop back and throw it enough to beat this Lions team and keep up with this offense, so I'll take the Lions winning this one.
This all comes down to, I think the Falcons are going to, run the ball. Bijan Robinson, try to use him, who's, looked better than advertised through 2 weeks. Listen, people who, like you got to be doing a victory lap about the Bijan Robinson start to the season, right? For all the arguments we had.
Yeah, he's really talented. There's only so much you could say about that.
Him versus Gibbs this game.
Yeah. So this is an interesting matchup. They haven't really used Gibbs a whole lot, but he's looked explosive when he's got the ball, although he didn't run the ball particularly well last week. He caught the ball well, though. I think the big thing for Atlanta is, this is not exactly new material here, but this would be a good game to get Kyle Pitts involved. I don't think these linebackers for Detroit are that great in coverage. In fact, so far this season, they are 30th in tight end scoring as far as fantasy points go, which, isn't the be all end all, but that means tight ends are producing against them. So that helps too. So I think that there could be some opportunities here to use Bijan, use him a lot, hit that play action, hit Kyle Pitts in some space and makes things happen that way. But you got to be willing to get Pitts into the game. I think sooner or later this has to happen.
You would think so. I still think that I don't know how much they trust their passing offense just in general. At the end of the day, I'm always kind of a believer in I'm going to take the team that's going to throw the ball better over a team that's going to run the ball better. Give me Detroit. I think give me Detroit to cover the 3.5, the 3-point spread.
Yeah, this was a candidate for me. I think I'm going to hold off on it. I do have the board to work with here. So I am going to hold off on it, but I do like Detroit -3 over Falcons +3. And I like Detroit to win the game just in general.
One other point I have for this game is my, I think we're at the time of year where we can do this. I don't know. Atlanta feels like a 2-1 team, and Detroit feels like a 2-1 team. Atlanta being 3-0 and the Detroit being 1-2 doesn't feel right.
I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta might be a 1-2 team. That's 2-1, right? That would be 2-1 after this game, but it's okay. They've got the job done. They've earned their wins. They've outplayed their two opponents, so they get the credit for that.
Yeah, it seems like they don't get the credit for that with what you're saying.
Yeah. Do I think this is a team that's going to be an over 500 team all year? No. Do I think that they played well their first 2 weeks or good enough their first 2 weeks? Sure.
Interesting. Yeah, I want to see more from Desmond Ritter. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I just let's move on. Kyle, give me a game.
Your team. Let's go Eagles Bucks.
Yep. Next on my list as well. I'm picking the Eagles. Hurts me to do it. Not really. I mean, I've picked against my team plenty of times. That's how this show works. I think Philadelphia deserves to be favored here. I am fascinated in like what Eagles team are we seeing? I think through 2 weeks, the offense has not looked as dominant as we've seen it look in years past. There's been also some issues defensively, but that's to be expected week in and week out. I'm not going to freak out about that. But for the Eagles, it's like, I don't know. I'm fascinated in like if this offense doesn't fully have it all together just yet, what can Todd Bowles do to try and scheme stuff up? I think that I'm still not fully confident in Tampa Bay being able to do a lot so far against this defense. I think that, good defensive line, Tampa Bay, the offensive line's held up surprisingly well through 2 weeks. I think a big part of it has been Tristan Wirfs kind of moving him to the left side. Actually having someone who can block the blind side has helped out a lot. Also, Luke Gadecki, the whipping boy last year, how about 18th highest graded tackle so far through 2 weeks? Who would have thought? Again, how is that going to hold up against Philadelphia, though? I just don't know. And that's the concern. I think that Philadelphia deserves to be favored from past pedigree. I think that even if they don't play their cleanest game, this is still a game they should win. At the end of the day, the Eagles have championship aspirations. Tampa Bay has playoff aspirations. And unless I think they shoot themselves in the foot, I think this is a game that they should win.
I'm with you. They should definitely win it. I think that they will win it. I don't hate Bucks plus 4.5 though. I think that's the interesting thing. I think the Bucks find a way to keep this close. I think they're going to find a lot of games, a way to keep a lot of games close, which is just going to be a big thing for them. That run defense against the Philadelphia run offense, I think, is the most fascinating matchup of the week. Because this is an awesome run defense. This is an awesome run offense. We saw what DeAndre Swift did last week. So I think that's the most fascinating matchup. And, I do think there are a couple things that are going to be really interesting as far as, when the Eagles match up against the Bucks. I do think they're rightfully favored. I do think they should win this game. But if you look at the things they've struggled with through the first 2 weeks, how are they going to throw the ball in this? Can they throw the ball in this game? Because even if they're slowed down running just slightly, that affects their offensive line. And they haven't been able to throw the ball that well or effectively the first 2 weeks of the season. This is still a good secondary, too, for Tampa Bay. So how do they find a way to throw the ball? Can they throw the ball downfield against this defense, especially if their run game struggles even a little bit against this Tampa Bay front seven, which is still just nasty, And then the other part of this game is this Eagles coverage unit. This Eagles coverage unit hasn't been very good. I don't think their cover linebackers are worth anything. I think that's been a big problem for this team to start the year. I do think that their defensive line is once again going to be able to get after it. I'm not betting on a big Rashad White game this week, but how do they handle Mike Evans and Chris Godwin with this struggling secondary in week 2 as well? So, the Eagles secondary, the Eagles weaknesses so far to start this year are definitely going to be tested in this game. And I think Todd Bowles is going to be able to test this offense.
Yeah, doesn't it kind of feel like, so Baker Mayfield has yet to throw an interception this year. Kind of feels like if Philadelphia wins this game, that cannot be the case through 3 weeks, right?
Definitely. Yeah, they're going to get some turnovers, I think, in this game if they win. So I would like to see this team play a little bit better defensively. I do think Slay's been good for the most part. He was good in week 1. I don't think the rest of this secondary has been really good. And so, yeah, I mean, I do think that, Evans is playing, just phenomenal ball again. He's a future Hall of Famer. I think Godwin's done a really good job too. I think Kate Otten's been a really nice third option. This Tampa Bay passing game all of a sudden has a little bit of life to it through the first 2 weeks of the season, mainly just off of week 2, which is the Bears. So you take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, I mean, Baker is taking care of the ball, and that's what's keeping Tampa Bay in these games because their defense is going to do its thing.
And also, quick shout out, Christian Izien, the undrafted rookie, playing slot corner this year. 2 interceptions in 2 games. Maybe you can keep that going.
Yeah, who needs Sean Murphy Button?
Exactly. What a Todd Bowles thing. Oh, let me just get this undrafted free agent. I'll turn him into a successful piece for us.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. So I think that this is a fascinating matchup. Like I said, I might lean Tampa Bay plus 4.5, but I could also see the Eagles like winning this one like 17-0 and like Tampa Bay not able to move the ball again.
Yeah. I'm going to give you a game now. This wasn't next on my list, but it should have been. I'm looking at this now. I'm like, this game feels like it should be better than the other ones. Bills taking on the Washington Commanders. Still doesn't feel right. Washington football team. I think Buffalo last week showed they're still awesome, but, I think it's also fair to say that with how, Washington has played, they've been scrappy, and maybe Buffalo has another bad performance. Bills 6.5 point favored. Are you sticking with Buffalo to win this one?
I am sticking with Buffalo. The only thing that concerns me is this Washington defensive line taking on this Bills offensive line, which I don't think is very good. So that is the biggest thing for me. That's the biggest matchup that could decide this, could keep Washington really in this game because they don't really have a talent advantage anywhere else. I guess maybe you could say receiver. They're better. Actually, I would say receiver they're better, even though Diggs is better than McLaurin. But everywhere else, I would say the Bills still have a pretty distinct advantage. But yeah, I mean, Chase Young has played really well the first 2 weeks. I think Montez Sweat is still great. Jonathan Allen's still great. This Bills offensive line shaky. If they're able to kind of contain Josh Allen, keep him in the pocket, and also hit him in the backfield, Washington could kind of fight and scrap their way in this game, like you said they've done all year. I don't really know what to make of Washington's 2-0 start. They didn't look great against 2 teams I thought they were better than. And they were down 21-3 in one of those games, and they were down to Arizona, who's probably the worst team in the league. But this just kind of seems like Arizona's MO. I don't know what to make of that whole scenario, but at the same time, I do think the Bills are better and they win.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like you brought up what is Washington better than? I kind of think they're better than the Bills in a lot in this game. Like I think that they probably have a better defensive line, probably a better offensive line, have a better receiving core. I think you could argue they have a better coverage. I think that might be a push at this point. I think that and they certainly have a better running back room. I would say Brian Robinson's playing really good football. I think the issue is just like there's a massive gap at quarterback right now, and I'm not even. I've liked what I've seen from Howell so far, but he's nowhere near Josh Allen's caliber.
Yeah, Josh Allen at his best is still a much better player, right? So, I mean, that's fair. I mean, it's weird to kind of calibrate this Bills roster because there are good players scattered throughout it.
Right.
Matt Milano is still playing fantastic football. Yeah. I think this coverage has done, a fairly decent job, it seems like, through the first 2 weeks of the season. Now, granted, they played the Raiders, who, Devontae Adams still went off in that game, but everybody else, they kind of slowed down, and they played Zach Wilson. So you take that with a grain of salt. But I do think that Bill's coverage unit has played pretty well to start the year, even if there aren't the names on that list.
Yeah, it's almost like, we talk about teams being the same team. These are 2 teams that are opposite. It's the team with stars, but an inconsistent roster versus the team with a very consistent roster, but maybe lacking in stars outside of 1 or 2 players. Yeah.
And Trey White's coverage has been okay. It's not great, but I do think he's been a little bit closer to what he was a couple years ago. It does definitely feel that way. I just think the Bills have too much juice. And, I don't know how much credit I'm willing to give Washington for these first 2 wins.
Also, Buffalo being 2-1 and Washington being 2-1 makes a lot more sense than Washington being 3-0 and Buffalo being 1-2.
That would be bizarre. If we're coming on Sunday for the 3-0 balls and that's our lead, that would be quite the story to start the year for sure.
Yeah, always good to lead with the balls. Kyle, I'm gonna give. Yeah, no, you give me a game.
Man, let's go. I don't love any of these games left.
Yeah,
Let's go
it's a rough slate.
Giants at Niners.
Okay, Giants at the 10.5 point spread, or excuse me, the 10 point spread. Somehow there's still there's still 7 games left after this. And I don't think it's a terrible pick. I only had 2 games ahead of this one. I'm picking the Niners to win. I get it. Thursday night football, always a good time to kind of get upsets can happen there. I kind of picked I don't know. I'm the world's biggest Giants hater. I'm picking the Niners to cover this one. Andrew Thomas is hurt now. Which is not good for the Giants. We got. I mean, they're going to have to get rid of the ball in a second and a half every play, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, this is just brutal. Like, this offensive line's horrible.
Yeah,
and they still got to play the Cowboys again. They got to play the Eagles twice. They got to play this team. Like, what the hell does this team do this season? They got to play the Jets. I mean, like, what do they do this season? This is going to be a disaster. They got to play Aaron Donald. Just looking at their schedule now, I mean, this is going to be rough. But yeah, I mean, the thing is like even with Saquon out, Andrew Thomas out, like they still had that half where it's like the ball's twice. Thank you, Zachary. That ball's defensive line's good too. We just talked about them. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good defensive lines on their schedule. They still had 31 points and a half. So like, yes, they've been probably one of the least impressive teams in the league to start the season, but they went off and they are capable of doing that. So,
well, they're capable of doing it when they have Saquon Barkley in the game and they're playing Arizona.
Yes,
I think that's an important thing to note.
They're definitely, I don't know. I think they're the best team of the underdogs we had left. I guess maybe you can make an argument for, maybe the Broncos, but at the same time, like, I don't know. They're still very unimpressive. A lot of unimpressive teams this season in my book.
Yeah, it's a tough slate. Like, you might that's as crazy as that seems to say. You might not be wrong about some of these teams. Yeah, I mean, and the reason why it's not a terrible pick either is the Giants have just found ways to randomly win some games.
Yeah. They could BS their way into something here, but at the same time, I'm looking at this. This 49ers defensive line: Armstead, Hargrave, Bosa, Drake Jackson. I don't know how they do it. If they find a way to do it, kudos to them. I don't know how they're going to do it in this game.
Yeah, and it's also not like they have a lot of advantages in other areas as well. Maybe need a big Kayvon Thibodeau day. I don't know, but which could happen. But yeah, want to move on to another game?
Yeah. Let's keep it moving.
Okay, well, I'll give you Panthers Seahawks. I think Seattle's maybe shown some signs of weakness through 2 weeks, and Carolina, I think, their defense looked very good against New Orleans. Is it possible they could keep this one close, get a turnover, and steal this one?
Sure. I definitely think it's in the realm of possibility they keep this game close. I don't trust it enough. I don't trust this offense. Yes, this defense for Seattle, especially the secondary, I would say has looked shaky through the first 2 weeks of the season. But they played what seems to be 2 good passing offenses too. If we're recalibrating the Rams, we also have to put that into consideration for the Seahawks secondary. They've been very good the first 2 weeks of the year. That looks like it was a tougher matchup. We just talked about how good this Lions passing game can be, and they did get a pick in that game. Intercepted Jared Goff when I heard about the interception record for a week straight. So kudos to them for that. Maybe it gets a little bit better as the year gets along. Devin Witherspoon didn't play the first game. He's, still kind of working his way into things. Maybe it gets better. I don't think it's going to be great, but it could be better. And I don't really think it matters because I don't really know. I think I'd take any secondary over this Panthers receivers right now. I just would. I would take the Chargers secondary against this Panthers receivers.
That might be a bit much. I think maybe against a trash secondary, they could. I don't know. Adam Thielen's actually looked all right, but again, it's like the issue is just like Adam Thielen at this point in his career, you want him as a number 3 option. Like he's like a quality number 3 option at this point, and they're asking him to be like man coverage, go out and win on the outside, and it's just like that's not like at his best. He was like kind of that guy, like I would say he was, but he wasn't like an elite version of that. The DJ Chark thing hasn't worked out yet. We haven't seen much from Terrence Marshall. I don't know. This is just, it's not it's not a great start. Also, apparently, they don't feel like Bryce Young is big enough to run quarterback sneaks. I don't know what's going on there. So that's interesting. You know, I'm with you. I think if Seattle, you want to prove week 1 was kind of a fluke, win by double digits here.
Yeah, you should. And I'm with you. Like Thielen, I still think does some things well. He still thrives in the red zone. He had another red zone touchdown that game. I do think he's a good 50-50 catcher, but at the same time, like I just think overall he's not the kind of, he's still not a separation guy. And I just think that the Panthers are just going to have that problem all season.
Yeah, I also have a super sticker by Romeo. Thank you, Romeo. Awesome. Appreciate that. But yeah. Any final thoughts on this one?
No. We talked about the Panthers enough this week, I think. More than the Panthers fans want us to talk about.
Possibly. Kyle, give me a game.
Broncos Dolphins.
Okay. Yeah. It's not a terrible pick. I mean, the thing is, it's like, I don't know. So I'm picking Miami, obviously. The thing is, like, with Denver, it's like they did show flashes. And, like, kind of, I made a joke last week of, like, I guess inconsistency is better than bad. But, like, I don't know. Maybe Russell Wilson could be, like, I don't know, at least decent again. Like, he has shown flashes. You're saying, no. Why you're just writing it off that he could even be decent?
Well, the problem is this matchup. Like, I do think the thing he does well is when he has time in the pocket to throw the ball deep. Vic Fangio doesn't let anybody get behind him. Like that just doesn't happen against a Vic Fangio defense. Yeah. Like I don't think this Miami secondary is amazing or anything like that. I think they've played decently well through the first 2 weeks of the season. But the big thing they do is don't let people deep. That's Vic Fangio's whole MO. That's what's made him a lot of money and made him one of the most successful defensive coordinators of the modern era. And if the Broncos can't do that, I don't know what they're successful at. That's my worry.
Might be tough. Might be a tough situation. Vic Fangio revenge game going up against Denver. So that's interesting. One thing also too, we can talk all about Russell Wilson and stuff. I don't think they're going to win this game because I don't know if they can cover that well. Like this secondary has not been what we expected it to be. Patrick Surtain's still awesome, but really no one else has played particularly well in this coverage unit through 2 weeks. It's just 2 weeks. We'll see what happens. But maybe that's just it. But I don't know. It's concerning that they're fourth worst in dropback EPA defensively. The Denver Broncos are. I mean, and then you got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle coming to town.
Yeah, it hasn't been great. Like you said, Surtain's been awesome, but you're also sporting, let me look it up here. You're also sporting PFF's worst graded cornerback as your number 2 corner, which isn't good. And I think the best thing Kareem Jackson has done this season is try and decapitate receivers legitimately. That was one of the most just egregiously terrible hits I've ever seen. Not I've ever seen, but a recent memory. Yeah, it was pretty
since Vontaze Burfict retired.
Yeah, honestly, that's basically what he's done to start this year. So yeah, I mean, coverage can be fluky year to year. We've talked about that a lot of times. But their best guy is performing, the other guys are not, and that's the problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, can we just say through 2 weeks, quite the take by me having Miami going to the Super Bowl. It's looking great through 2 weeks.
They've done well. They have done very well, and they've won 2 games in different ways. They were able to run the ball in week 2. They were able to play good defense. In week 1, they were able to throw the ball over the yard. So yeah, I mean they're winning in a variety of ways too, which is even more impressive than just having the wins on their schedule.
Yeah. Also, how about Austin Jackson putting together a mediocre year? Look at him.
I was thinking about that too.
Joking, but it's true.
There wasn't a whole lot of pressure in that game last week without Teron Armstead against that Patriots defensive line, which is still pretty good. There was some pressure. Like they didn't do overly well in the red zone. They struggled a little bit in the red zone, pushing that defensive line, and they played a lot of light boxes in that game. Plus Tua throws the ball so quickly. But they did decently well, I would say for sure. Which, by the way, I got to say, Tua's awesome. Tua's had a very good first couple weeks of the season. We don't need to compare them to Dan Marino. We don't need to do that.
We don't need to compare him to who?
Dan Marino. That was on the broadcast last week.
Oh, right. that was incredible. Yeah, Dan Marino's nowhere near as good.
Exactly. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, they do certain things pretty well with that offensive line. They're not letting them get torched for sure.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to let you lock up your team against the Jets here, Kyle.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I had this and the Cowboys on my list. I'll just go ahead and take this one because the other one is -12. Patriots lock. Look, I do think the Jets secondary and defense is going to make this a little bit of a sweated out game. But just when I thought that this whole shtick was over, I get to do it again. So are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
In 4 games against the New England Patriots, Zach Wilson, 13.5 completions, over 26.5 attempts. That is 50.9 completion percentage for 173.3 yards per game. He has 2 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, and he gets sacked 3 times a game. His quarterback rating in those 4 games is 50.6, and this Patriots defense is better than ever. So Zach Wilson's screwed. This game's over. This game's over before it starts. Zach Wilson is not ready to play in this game. Patriots win this one by double digits.
That's what should happen for 100%. And I don't get this line at all. I don't get how it's just -3.
Well, because the Patriots aren't an awesome team. But if there's one thing that Bill Belichick has done amazing through his 20 years of coaching the New England Patriots, 20 plus years of coaching the New England Patriots, he makes bad quarterbacks look horrendously bad.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't be playing football bad. And Zach Wilson's been one of his favorite targets for the last 2 years now. So yeah, I don't see how this works out for them. This coverage unit has, despite playing the Eagles and the Dolphins, I think this coverage unit has looked really good. There is the battle of the 2 young phenoms, which is Garrett Wilson against my guy Christian Gonzalez, who has been sensational. Especially given the fact that like I said, he's managed to play AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle. He's matched up against all those guys, and I think he's done a terrific job against almost all of them. He's done a terrific job through the first 2 weeks of the season against 4 high-end receivers. He is PFF's 4th highest graded cornerback. That's not a fluke. I think he's been awesome. And I think this Patriots secondary, this Patriots defense should overwhelm the Jets.
Yeah, and Gonzalez too. Just as crazy of a stat, 129 snaps. That's tied for most. It's a 3-by-tie. So I'm not sure if that's every snap or just most of them or what. But it's tied with Kyle Duggar and Jawan Bentley for most snaps. So I mean, they're throwing him into a big role. Like he's their number 1 guy at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he stole the show, and part of it was also like Jack Jones being hurt to start the year. I think Jack Jones would have given him a run for his money for number 1 guy, but with Jack Jones out, he's managed to kind of take this position from him. This is his. I mean, Jack Jones is going to be the number 2 corner when he comes back for sure at this point. Plus, they could also throw, if you have speed out there, they're going to throw Jonathan Jones out there. I think Jabril Peppers is going to be highly involved in this game. He's going to be moving around and making life miserable for Zach Wilson. I just think it's going to be a really tough time for this Jets offense to do much of anything.
Well, let me play devil's advocate, I suppose. I would say, if you take the quarterbacks out of the equation, this isn't an obvious win one way or the other for me. I think that the Jets have clearly the better skill player with Garrett Wilson compared to what New England has. I think that you could argue the running games are like equal. I think that you could, I think that I don't see a massive advantage on either defense. To me, I think just the issue was I don't trust Zach Wilson to not turn the ball over. But if this is the game where he cannot turn the ball over against the New England Patriots, if this is the game where maybe they just run the ball every play, I'm sure that's what, Bill Belichick is preparing for, a scenario where that happens. If something like that happens, then maybe I could see a scenario where the New York Jets can at least, I don't know, lose by 2 here.
Yeah, that happened last season too. There wasn't, there wasn't a huge advantage either side. It went 3-3. Marcus Jones ended it with a walk-off punt return. So that's something that could happen. I mean, there's a couple different scenarios where this happens where, I just think the Patriots managed to pull this out. Not to mention, they're all still listed as questionable, but there is a real chance Trent Brown, Cole Strange, Michael Onyewu play. We have at least Riley Reef's still on IR. He's not coming back. But we do have 4/5 of our starting offensive line back. So I do think that gets better this week. And I think that's a advantage over the Jets offensive line. I'm with you. Wilson is awesome. I do like the depth.
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson, yes. Garrett Wilson is awesome.
Make sure we specify which Wilson.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson is awesome. Garrett Wilson has been fantastic for the first 2 weeks of the season. He's been fantastic since he became a pro. I still like the Patriots' depth at the skill positions more than the Jets. Like, I think Kendrick Bourne's put together a solid start to the season.
Kendrick Bourne's the number one receiver.
Well, Devontae Parker, when he's healthy, is he was their number one receiver in week 2.
Sure, but I mean, it's there's not a massive. I don't know if it counts. Garrett Bourne counts as I guess they use him as a role player, but he's basically, I don't know. He's one of their better receivers.
Yeah, I mean, I will take, even if we wash Kendrick Bourne and Garrett Wilson, I'll take Devontae Parker, Hunter Henry, Demario Douglas, Mike Gesicki, Juju Smith-Schuster over the Jets guys.
What's that, like the meme of like these two girls having a mid-off?
Yeah, something like that. That's exactly what it is. So
Zachary Stewart says it's at the Jets, so they fill the stadium with moms, motivate Zach Wilson, boom, win. A great point. Kyle, you did not think of that.
I did not think of that. I'm ashamed. That's usually my thing.
Yeah, usually you're on that.
Yeah, that is true. Look, I mean, but yeah, I mean, and the biggest difference is that Mac Jones may turn the ball over a few times. We know for a fact Zach Wilson's probably turning the ball over a couple times in this game. That is the biggest difference. Yeah,
I mean, it just, you got to win we're expecting New England to win a turnover battle. If the Jets can tie the turnover battle, that's a huge win for them in this game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they certainly have the capabilities, even though that defense didn't play that great last week.
Yeah. Let's move on. 4 games left. Kyle, where are you going here? None of these decided by a touchdown. None of these spreads within a touchdown here.
Yeah, don't love the games on our slate here. I guess I'll go Texans at Jaguars.
Yeah, what happened? How are we in week 3 and all these games are already like a half of the week is like just a bunch of stinkers? I don't know what happened here.
Is there a lot of really bad football teams?
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I do feel like there's a lack of I don't know. There's a lack of like. If a quarterback play is taking a dip a bit, right? Because Rodgers is out for the year, Tom Brady's retired, so it's like we've lost a couple of those like quarterbacks that were used to being great. Not too long ago was Breeze and Rivers and Roethlisberger retiring, and we've gotten some great quarterbacks come in, but in the past couple of years we haven't really had one show up.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
I guess Lawrence is the only one in the past 3 years.
Yeah, some good classes coming up though, man. Get excited.
Yeah. But yeah, okay. I thought you had more to say. All right, Texans,
I'm with
Jaguars.
You, it has been a problem this year.
Well, speaking of young quarterbacks, C.J. Stroud's looked good through 2 weeks. He's been playing good football. I don't know if this is the test for him for sure. And again, looked good for a rookie, obviously, and he's not like going to win MVP or anything like that. Needs to take less sacks, I think for sure. You can blame some offensive line issues if you want. I think a part of it is on him, though. I think he needs to work on that. So gotta work. Worry about Josh Allen here. Always a challenge. I think that the Jaguars secondary is good. I think they should be able to cover pretty well in this one. I guess the one thing is Jaguars did not have a great offensive performance last week. But you expect this to be this feels like a get right game. I would pick Jacksonville minus 9.5 to cover.
Yeah, I think I would too. Some of these division games though just get so weird. I don't know. I'm with you. Stroud's played well, like you said. He's not a top 15 quarterback, but he's there's something to build off of there. Nico Collins has played pretty well. Like this team isn't talent. The talent deficit. They got some things here. I think the big thing for the Texans is they have to find a way to run the ball a little bit. Dameon Pierce is good. They have no room for Dameon Pierce. That's where the offensive line's really struggled with all of these injuries. They can't give him any room. And I think that's a problem. I think, like you said, if you're not able to run on the Jaguars, which is probably the weakness of their defense, I think you're having a tough time. Because I said it last week. I continue to say it. They can really cover. And I think that's going to be a really tough matchup for this Texans team if they can't run the ball.
Yeah, we can do the weekly Trayvon Walker watch. Currently through 2 weeks, 92nd among eligible edge rushers out of 107 eligible edge rushers in PFF grades. So I don't know. And weirdly, his run defense has been the worst part of his game, which is not what we expected.
Yeah. Jackson playing the hits here. Here we go. No.
I mean, I'm going to keep bringing it up. If it was Aiden Hutchinson, the chat would be bringing it up every time we talk about the Lions.
That's fair. Yeah. He hasn't looked great, without a doubt.
I mean, I think it's an interesting. I mean, I don't know. I know I bring it up a lot, but it's an insane story to happen that a player just basically got drafted due to his athleticism first overall when he was projected to go like 30th before the combine happens, comes into the league and doesn't look like a first round talent. Like, that's an insane thing that's happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, imagine this team with Aiden Hutchinson and Josh Allen.
Yeah. Or like Sauce Gardner.
That would have helped too.
Yeah. We don't have to say forever. Also, I like this. LMAO, bro can't let his homerism go. Browns aren't beating the Titans. The Browns may actually not score against the Titans. I think someone's a little behind watching the feed.
Yeah, it seems like a little behind and not really sure who I'm a fan of here.
Yeah. Well, you know me, big homer towards the Titans or Browns. I guess that's you, right?
Yeah, he's saying I'm a big Browns fan, obviously.
Noted Browns fan, Kyle.
I don't know, man. Anyway, all right. I think I gave you that one. I think it's your turn to give me a game.
Okay. Colts, Ravens.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We were about to say something?
Oh, I'm picking the Ravens. I was going to say we could breeze through a couple of these games, I think.
Only 3 games left.
Yeah, Ravens, I felt good about how they played last week. They looked like the team that if you're optimistic about this team, which I think both of us were, even though you picked them to win the division, I still picked them to win 12 games as a wildcard team. I think if you're going to look at this team last week, that's probably what you wanted to see out of them. They looked very good in that one, and they should dice this Colts team.
Yeah, I mean, this Colts defense has kind of stunk so far.
Mm-hmm. Which is something we were kind of hoping for a bounce back if we were going to have an optimistic Colts season. And not only that, I'm going to go under the assumption that Anthony Richardson isn't playing, which, may be a bad assumption, but, I guess with concussions, I'm just going to assume everyone's out a week now. So, I'm assuming Gardner Minshew's back there. I don't think it's been a great offensive line performance for the Colts either. Like, I just don't think there's enough here to really compete with a team that's good.
But I think that's kind of been the bright spot of this team is the offensive line.
It's been okay, I thought, but I mean, I don't know. I just feel like they haven't really, they couldn't run the ball much at all outside of Richardson in week 1. And, I think
Colts currently tied for the best in the league in run blocking.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, great.
All right. Well, never mind. Forget me then.
So sorry to call you out like that, Kyle. Just
it's all good. Well, Zach Moss did have a very good week too. I guess Deion Jackson putting the ball on the ground so much didn't help. So, I mean, if they're able to do that, yeah, maybe they got a chance, but I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be their strategy, but I just don't. I think against Baltimore, the Colts are a scrappy team, but I don't think that they're good enough to pull this one off unless Baltimore just throws a few turnovers and lets Indianapolis stay in it. 2 games left. So now you give me one here. It's Cowboys, Cardinals, and Bears, Chiefs. 2 barn burners that are, I don't know. I think one of these is at least interesting. But Kyle, where are we going?
I'll give you Bears at Chiefs, I guess.
Okay, I think that's a mistake. I would have gone other way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The Cardinals have been much better than the Bears so far. That's fair.
There is a 0% chance that Travis Kelce isn't somewhere on a beach with Taylor Swift right now drinking margaritas, not even watching film for this game. There's a 0% chance that's not happening.
So you're saying it is happening?
Yes, sorry, I double negative there. That's 100% happening. The Chiefs are not worried about the Bears at all in this one.
Well, maybe they'll get caught by surprise then.
That's the idea. I think this is something. I don't know. The Chiefs love to play down the competition. It's their favorite thing. They love to keep games close until the fourth quarter where they win. I don't know if that will matter against the Bears the way they're playing right now.
Yeah. So, were you paying attention to this story today?
The Justin Fields story?
No, the defensive coordinator thing.
No, I feel like everyone picked one or the two stories to pay attention to. I paid attention to Justin Fields one. So why don't you cover this one and I'll cover the Justin Fields one?
Well, I was hoping you could fill me in on what
Oh,
was happening. Someone was saying something about FBI rating and something weird was going down. Like, what
yeah.
exactly is happening with the defensive coordinator just quit / got fired, really. You know, I'm not fired, I quit situation. That's what it was, right?
He says, I think the official thing is to focus on health and family. So I don't think we've officially no. I think people have speculated, of course. I think the FBI raid thing. I believe that was just a rumor. I don't believe. Ian Rappaport tweeted out the FBI did not raid Hallis Hall today. So for the that thing, and yeah, but he did resign. Alan Williams did resign.
Huh. Well, I don't even know what to make of that. He wasn't even the worst coordinator on the team.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what he was supposed to do. Which part of what leads me to believe maybe it was legitimately he just like, you know what, maybe I don't need to be a part of this team.
Yeah, I don't like this. I think that's probably fair. This Bears team is bad. It seems like it's in shambles. I mean, so fill me in on this Justin Fields thing because I was kind of off the grid today. So Justin Fields, they ask him what's wrong. He basically says coaching.
It's more. There's more to it than that. So Fields doing a press conference said, I think he was asked a question about the Tampa Bay loss, and he said, I think I'm overthinking things. I think I'm just doing too much thinking. I'm like a robot out there. I need to just simplify things and not think so much. And so, okay, all right, interesting quote. That's kind of his mindset. A reporter asked him, so why do you think you're thinking too much? And he said, maybe coaching. And then he kind of said some other things. And I think it was one of those things where I don't think he fully realized what he had said. Because, basically, he said, I'm struggling at this thing. Someone said, why are you struggling at it? And he said, coaching. But I think he was just sort of answering it off the top of his head and not really thinking about it that way. Because the rest of the press conference, he never mentioned, to be clear, I don't blame my coaches. My coaches are good. But he was also kind of the vibe was very much he was complimentary towards the coaches when he was asked questions about it, and he always seemed kind of confused why people kept bringing it up. So I think it was just one of those you don't realize what you're saying when you're in the moment type of things. And he did clarify after he doesn't blame the coaches at all. It wasn't intended to be a shot at the coaches. I think it was more of an maybe you could argue it was a slip of the tongue accidentally or a Freudian slip or something like that. I think he just kind of should have been more clear in his comments.
Yeah, certainly sounds like it. I don't know. It hasn't looked good. There are a lot of all 22 footages being put out now of Justin Fields' performances that also aren't favorable. I mean, not only that, this Kansas City defense that's no longer a secret. This Kansas City defense is just straight up good.
Yeah.
And this is a tough matchup for that offense, I think. This Kansas City defense is fast. So I don't even think Justin Fields is going to have a monster running day with that. So, yeah, I think it's going to be I think it's a problem. Not to mention their secondary stinks and they're facing Patrick Mahomes.
Over under 4 touchdowns for Patrick Mahomes.
Total touchdowns? I'll take
yeah.
If it's 4, I have to go under, probably push. It's probably going to be 4 exactly. I don't know. 5 touchdowns feels like a lot.
So if it's 3.5, you're going over?
Yeah, I think I would.
Okay. Yeah.
I could use it for fantasy. It's been underwhelming so far. This feels like a get right game for the Chiefs where they win 50-0.
Yeah, this is this is going to be you have to bet Chiefs minus 12.5. I think that's just because it's fun.
Will Blaine Gabbert play in this game?
Ooh. Yes. It'll be the entire second half.
Entire second half. Okay. That seems extreme.
Maybe not entire second half. That did happen one time, a Buccaneers Lions game where that was, I believe, the first game after Patricia got fired. It was so bad. Blaine Gabbert came in, played the entire second half, and was the league leading. He led the league in passer rating that year because of his one half in football.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a possibility for that. He should light up this Bears secondary. Yeah, I mean, this is a mismatch in seemingly every category. Not only that, even the good players on the Bears offensive line are now hurt. Right. Everything just seems like a disaster. This feels like Matt Eberflus is hanging by a thread. It feels like at this point, even in year 2.
Yeah, this could be tough. I don't know if anything happens after this week, but this could be a tough one. Luckily, I think this is one of those games. If you're a Bears player, you're like, thank God we're on the road.
Yeah. We don't have to hear from the home fans. Yeah, that's probably
Yeah,
fair.
the Dallas Cowboys versus the Arizona Cardinals. Who are you picking, Kyle?
Who am I picking?
Yeah, you have to pick the game. That's how
Yeah,
the show works.
this could be a tough one. Yeah, I got the Cowboys.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I thought about locking this. I would definitely bet Cowboys as long as it's under 2 touchdowns. They have outscored opponents by 30 points, 30 points per game through the first 2 weeks. And despite Arizona, scrapping through the first 2 games, I guess is the right way to put it. They just blew like a 28-7 lead. So give me the Cowboys. I don't like this Arizona offensive line. I like some of the offensive line. I shouldn't say that. I don't like anything about Arizona compared to Dallas. So give me the Cowboys.
Yeah, this is a tough one for Arizona. I don't know what they're gonna do to. I mean, if the Cowboys don't cover, this is gonna feel like a loss. Like if they win by 11, we're like, tough win for the Cowboys.
It means that they were playing golf all week or on a beach with
Right.
Taylor Swift with Travis Kelce too.
Right. We have a super chat that just says Micah Parsons. Yeah, good point.
He's been electric. I mean, I guess the one thing is like, we are going Cowboys crazy right now. Everybody's everyone's in on the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
I have been very pleased with the way they started the season. Is it okay to wait to see them get tested?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, I think it should be totally acknowledged that they played the Giants, the Jets, and now the Cardinals, and then had the Patriots week 4. So it's like they're not going to get tested until week 5 against the 49ers.
Wow. That's a little hurtful. I do think that there are at least challenges in weeks 4, 5, and 6 that they haven't faced in weeks 1, 2, and 3. That's the biggest thing. And, they're definitely not seeing it this week. So I would bet the Cowboys to win by 20 plus. Maybe take an alternate line there.
Okay, I'll give you a point. Let's do a point bet on 20. Cowboys minus 20.
Minus 19.5. That's what
you said. 20 plus. I guess so. Yeah, okay, I'll do 19. I'll beat you there. 19.5. Okay, deal.
All right, here we go. We're rolling.
Okay, but first bonus point bet of the week. Come on, Josh Dobbs. Just keep within 20. That's not hard.
Yeah. It'll be like a 14-point game, and then he'll fumble right at the end of the game. Cowboys by 21.
Yeah, exactly. That or the exact opposite's going to happen. It's going to be one of those two.
Yeah, up by 25, and all of a sudden a late touchdown.
Right.
Yeah. I think we covered this game.
Yeah, we did. I guarantee you, we spent more time on that game than 99% of podcasts out there.
Are you kidding me? Everyone's talking about the Cowboys.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. All right, Kyle. That is our show. Bit of a long show, but we had a lot to cover. We had 16 games plus 2 Monday Night Football games. Look, I'll be honest. Looking forward to some of these bye weeks coming up.
Yeah, we are powering through some of these long shows, but bye weeks are on the horizon. That'll help. A lot of football though to watch. A lot of stuff to consume. We have an excellent college football weekend too. So you can't go out Saturday. You got to watch some of these games.
I'm probably going to be moving Saturday, so I'm not. I got too much going on.
I moved last Saturday, but yeah. I mean, we got Ohio State, Notre Dame. We got Oregon State, Washington State. I mean, there are some doozies on the schedule. Colorado, Oregon.
Who's good this year? I'm going to look up the top 25. Unless you want to do it and tell me who like the top 7 teams are.
Okay, well, right now the AP top 25 is Georgia, Michigan, Texas, Florida State, USC, Ohio State, Penn State. But I do think it is a deep year. Washington at number 8, I think, has been debatably the most impressive team in football through the first 3 weeks of the season. Notre Dame's looks solid through the first 4 weeks of the season. For them, they are 4-0. I think Oregon and Utah are scrappy. LSU did lose a game, but they just beat a team by 60. Alabama doesn't have a quarterback. They suck. SEC's dead. That's the big story of the season.
I don't know. So what? So USC is good this year.
Yeah, I mean they got Caleb Williams. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Well, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes those quarterbacks aren't good teams though. Okay, interesting. Texas and Florida State are good. That's fun.
Yeah, Texas beat Alabama. That was a nice win for them.
Okay.
In Alabama, which has happened like 9 times in the Nick Saban tenure or something like that. I think the one interesting thing about this college football season is that there probably is more teams that feel like they have a shot at winning a national title than ever before or in recent memory. Like I think legitimately the top 8 teams could talk themselves into winning a national title this year.
Interesting. Okay. Well, cool. Well, I'll keep an eye on it. I don't know. I'm kind of over Georgia.
Yeah. And
I don't
even
mind teams winning all the time. It's just they're a boring team, I feel like.
Yeah, they're not exact. I mean, Todd Monken's was a pretty good offensive coordinator when he was there. But not exactly the most innovative offense. Their defense obviously is terrific. Even them though, even them this year, they are still number one. They're the reigning champs. They're undefeated. They haven't exactly blown the doors off as far as being impressive. And Texas did beat Alabama, but they also struggled with Wyoming. And Florida State did beat LSU, but they also struggled with Boston College. So I do think every team kind of has strengths and weaknesses this year. Besides Washington, who's beat everybody by 30.
What about Colorado? They're about to win it all.
They're not going to win it all, but it's been a good story. Deion's a good coach. I think that's the funny thing about all this. He's a good coach.
Interesting. I don't know what it is, but I immediately started rooting against them. I don't know why. And I'm like, why am I doing this? They're fun. But I feel like that was my natural, I don't know, my natural vibe was root against them.
Because you have to pick a side on it immediately. That's the thing. That's modern society. You have to take a side on anything. No, I mean he is. I just think he's a good coach. And I think when people try and hate on Deion, it's for everything except for his success or failure, because he's been basically successful at everything except for reality TV. He is legitimately good at coaching, and I think it's really helped. The problem is that he inherited a team that went 0-12 last year or something like that, and was probably the worst Power 5 team. He brought in a lot of new faces, but I think they averaged through the first 3 games 10 sacks or tackles per loss per game. Once they're going to get blown out by USC and Oregon, but I do think they can win 6 or 7 games, and I think that's an incredibly successful season for that program where it was.
Yeah, so interesting stuff. We could end the college football conversation, but as we're an hour and a half into the show, Kyle, let them know where we can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin, and make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Of course, if you like audio only podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, check out On the Sideline podcast. Search that; it should be available. And if it's not, let me know, and I'll make it available there. Do it on Twitter. Would be a good way to do it. Again, thank you to everybody for watching or listening. We do appreciate it. And any final thoughts, Kyle?
No, looking forward to the weekend. Not going to leave my couch. This should be fun. A lot of football to watch. Everybody enjoy it.
Yeah, and hopefully you find your hat for next show.
Yeah, a lot of anti at the top of my head. I don't know. I got a good head of hair.
I think it looks good.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I got a good head of hair. I got beautiful eyes. I got all this going for me.
Well, the hat doesn't change your eyes.
Well, you can't see it with my hat down.
You can
I'm glowing.
I guess so. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, thank you to everybody. No, I like the no hat look. I am a pro no hat Kyle. We'll tune in on Sunday at midnight Eastern to see if Kyle is wearing a hat or not. Always important stuff. Thanks to everyone again. And of course, as always, what about how to end the show? Thanks for watching.
Peace.